Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. And a very good afternoon, folks. Today is the 28th of April 2020, also the 5th of Ramadan 1441 Hijriah. How are you folks today? Apa khabar anda semua? Yang pastinya anda berada di rumah, diharapkan anda semua masih lagi sempoi, masih lagi tenang, masih lagi sejahtera bersama-sama dengan keluarga anda dan juga yalah sesiapa yang anda ada dekat rumah itulah kan. Yep, we're still very much in the PKP phase. Kita masih dalam PKP punya phase, dalam MCO punya phase right now. And dalam pada masa yang sama kita juga sedang menyambut Ramadan. Diharapkan all your activities, apa segala usaha ataupun segala amalan yang anda lakukan di rumah diberkati olehnya, insya-Allah. Alright. So, I've had a chance to speak to quite a few people who are not in Malaysia to speak about their experience during this world pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. So, I've had guests coming out from Melbourne. Even yesterday, I got a couple to talk about their experience down from Birmingham. I also spoke to somebody who was from New York. And today, sebenarnya, I have a guest who I've known for quite a while now. I remember the first time I knew him, he was very much a super geek. He was wearing thick glasses. His hair was like really a mess. He didn't know how to bring himself at all. But dude, guys, this guy has actually changed into a much hunkier, more good-looking man right now. He's done cosmetic surgery to make himself look better. I do not want to tell you what kind of cosmetic surgeries that he has done, but really the guy has blossomed into a beautiful human being, and now he's actually down in Singapore where his goal is to take over that country of theirs and make it his own. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Mr. Linoel Tan. How are you, man? Lionel.
I'm good. Hi, Mior.
Right.
How?
Good. I mean, like my intro has been spot on, right? It's like definitely explains who you really are, who you were before, and what you are right now, right?
Yes. I'd say spot on, including the cosmetic surgery bit.
Yeah, definitely. So again, I'm gonna leave that up to our viewers for them to think about what kind of thing that you actually did, right? So let's just be at that. So Lionel, you're in Singapore right now. How is Singapore doing?
Singapore's doing well. I think. I mean, it by all measures of things, I think Singapore is doing very well. The government initiative is doing very well. We have this thing called, we don't have MCO, we have circuit breaker, and we now have extended circuit breaker till the 1st of June. We are encouraged not to go out. If you go out, you wear your mask. Only go out for essential services. Only go out for buying groceries or getting things that you need. People still hang out in the parks though. People still go out. I live next to a park. I'm quite blessed to have that. But people still go out. They still try and exercise. They aside from most things being closed, I think the biggest shocker to Singapore is like the bubble tea shops are closing, and now everybody rushing to buy bubble tea.
I've seen that clip, that particular article, the day before the announcements of the circuit breaker. Lines, we're talking about long lines, was in existence in front of like the boba stores. I mean, what's up with that?
I think bubble tea is one of the essential things here in Singapore for people. There were lines outside. I really pity these Grab delivery drivers or delivery driver food panda people that had to go out and fulfill the orders. And when they get to the bubble tea stores, the queue was like 2 hours long. And and then by the time you collect the order, your customer on the other side has already been complaining and like probably canceled the order, and things are not. It was a very stressful last day when they announced like the closure of the bubble tea stores. Funnily enough, right? Yeah.
No, I mean, like, obviously, I mean, like, every nation, every country, not just, I mean, because everybody has their own style, their own way to adhere to this, order that's being instructed by their own respective government. Because yesterday I had a friend from the UK actually explaining that you're still actually able to go out to parks once a week to make sure that your mental health is still being taken care of quite well. And as you said, in Singapore, people are still able to actually go out and walk in public.
Yeah, yeah. There's no real control, meaning that there's no strict, police enforcement. They have these social or safe distancing ambassadors that they deploy to try and tell people, hey, try and observe social distancing, don't sit too close to each other, don't exercise in groups. And so far, I think the majority of Singaporeans have adhered to this.
Mhm.
But sometimes, because they have this thing where they like to social shame, like they pull out their cell phones, they record people doing things they're not supposed to do, and then they
Yeah.
post it on Facebook. Yeah, it's sometimes you'll see some of that, but tend to stay away from these kind of things because although it's really like juicy gossip, right? You want to see things, but at the same time, it's not really beneficiary to the public as a whole, or even your mental health, I guess. It's like to see these things happening.
Yeah, because you know what, the fact that we are being restricted to a lot of things, the smallest thing, the smallest happenings that's going on could actually fuel up that urge that you may have inside of you, trying to survive, trying to go as normal as you possibly can. But
Yeah.
I just want to get your thoughts on this because in Malaysia, you've definitely known that the MCO, the Movement Control Order, the Perintah Kawalan Pergerakan that has been implemented down in Malaysia, we are very much in phase 3, has been extended to phase 4, which is going to be ending on the 12th of May. We have gone to the point where, yes, you are not able to go out. You're not supposed to go out unless you are one of the essential workers or you're doing your groceries and everything. What do you think about how Malaysia is looking at this whole pandemic and trying to control it in such a way versus how Singapore is actually doing it, from your experience having to live this in Singapore?
Well, it's different, right? Two countries are different. I think Singapore is a much more dense population, but it's also a smaller population, and and I think the government, like for example, in Malaysia, they enforce it with police roadblocks or trying to make sure that you don't go out. Only send the ketua rumah to go out to buy groceries and stuff. But I don't think here they intend to enforce it so much because they believe in the people, they believe in they trust the people to a certain extent, right? That when they do go out, they only go out for essential stuff. People are all encouraged to stay at home. Majority of Singaporeans they do stay at home. Um, I think there's a certain level of trust with the people here. Although, of course, there are some small minority of them that does well, I would say violate this social distancing rules that they have put in place. But I don't think it was necessary to go to that extent, unless, of course, it's the community spread is really widespread, meaning the infection within the local community is really widespread. For Malaysia's case, it's like, well, I guess because Malaysia's population is much higher, also mobility is very, very easy in Malaysia. Like you can, take the highways, you can travel, go visit your kampong, and I think they're also afraid of that. So that's why I think there was a need to restrict or have this movement restriction.
And are you trying to say that we Malaysians are less obedient than those who are in Singapore? No, I'm not, I'm
Yeah,
not, I'm
yeah.
not, I'm not, I'm
All
not,
right.
I'm not, up to you if you want to answer that question by all means. But no,
Less obedient.
no, I really, I
Hmm.
do agree to your statement, because again, like you said, Malaysia is a much larger country and it's much more difficult to actually control people and to just give the wholehearted trust in saying that, please stay indoors and that's the only thing that you should do and just be with it. I think it would be a dangerous step to take, because like it or not, this kind of thing needs to be controlled in a way that
Hmm.
that it needs to be implemented in a way that it is right now, lah. And and
Yeah.
and and having said that, I mean, like 3 weeks, coming up to fourth week. No, it has been a month since 18th of March when
Yeah.
MCO was first, 18th of March. Imagine that, right? It has
Yeah.
been like a month and a week already. But people, surprisingly, I mean, like, I'm one of the skeptics when it comes to Malaysians having to adhere to rules and whatnot. But I am very, very impressed. I'm very grateful that 99% of Malaysians out there who
Yeah.
are really taking this seriously. like in comparison to what's happening and when you hear stuff coming out from the United States. I mean, like
Yeah.
that's another crazy thing. I mean, like
Yeah.
we're not even, you can't even comprehend how people are trying to politicize this, trying to make this their own
Yeah.
way, like shouting out freedom of speech. I mean, what
Mhm.
the heck? I mean, like you don't see that in Singapore, definitely, right?
No, no, of course not. Um, it's different countries and different, I would say, political history. You know, America comes from a history of where they're rebels, they rebelled against Britain, they for their freedom. So it's like I think they see this as a given right, and this is something that they uphold personally, very much so. And when any country, nation, or even virus or anything that steps into that boundary, then of course I feel that they would rebel from that. Uh, for Malaysia, I would say that I think different countries handle the situation differently because of how the SARS spread to our countries in like what 1999, 1998, I think,
Yeah.
or no 2000 something. Yeah. So they Singapore is more prepared now compared to the previous like pandemic, which is the SARS virus, and also Malaysia also is more prepared. And yeah, I think it comes from just political history. I think history of the country. It's like how rebellious are you as a country?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, like, I think you got it spot on because it's the human nature, it's the cultural side of a person whenever they go through, such situations and such circumstances, they all react differently and everything. Okay, let's just leave US out of the way. I
Yeah.
mean, like, again, we do hope that people that we love who are in the States are doing well, at least, as much as possible. And you're drinking during Ramadan. That's a bit of a, rude gesture
Sorry.
for you. It's fine, man. Okay, let,
Apologies. Yeah.
no, it's okay. It's
I
cool.
need. Yeah.
I'm
I
a
need to check
very
myself. I need to check myself.
no, it's fine. No, no, okay. Let's jump to Ramadan. Okay, you being Malaysian, Lionel. Yes, no, being brought up in a culture. Okay, let's go back to human culture. In Ramadan,
Mm.
you're so used to having to visit the Ramadan buffet, Ramadan bazaar. Foods galore during this holy month and everything. And now you're trapped within your four walls in Singapore, not being able to actually do stuff. Where do you get your fix of your ayam percik or your
Oh.
kuih lapis or all those kind of things and everything? It's
Yeah.
mouth-watering
Yeah.
just to think about it. So how is that experience hitting you, or has it not hit you yet? Your famous bak kuteh down in Klang, you cannot get it. So
Yeah. How does the experience? Well, for one, I make it myself.
yep, you have. Yes.
Yeah, it's like I was craving nasi lemak the other day, and I was wondering, it's like, how do you make nasi lemak? Then I asked my mother-in-law. Thank goodness my mother-in-law's here, and she showed me how to make nasi lemak. Then I was like thinking maybe other people would benefit from this, so I made it in a video and I posted it on Instagram. It's like how to make nasi lemak. I made the bak kuteh one, but bak kuteh is like haram, bro. So
Oh yes, of course.
you can replace it. You can replace it with chicken. It's fine.
Yeah, true. Always said that, but never actually gone down that road before. But yeah. Coming back to that, your experience in Singapore,
Yeah.
not being able to have the typical Ramadan that you normally would have
Yeah.
when you're in
Yeah.
KL.
Yeah, it's okay. So when I first moved here, and I've lived here almost 6 years already, every time when it comes to Ramadan, it doesn't feel like Ramadan because the majority of the population here is Chinese, and it doesn't really feel that. And when when my wife moved here, that's when we started going to Ramadan bazaars, like the one in Geylang Serai. We went to the ones in Tampines. So every weekend during Ramadan, we'll try and find like a place to go that had. And it's super different because here in Singapore we have HDB, which are flats, like where everybody lives, and then at the bottom of the flats you have a void deck. A void deck is just basically empty space, right? Like it just like it's just there. It's an empty space, and what they will do, these vendors, they would apply for a license to actually open a store in the void deck, and they have their own mini Ramadan bazaar, and then me and my wife, we will go to these Ramadan bazaars, which are quite rare. They're not everywhere. Sometimes quite far away, like in Tampines, all the way on the east as well. And we would, yeah, it was very strange, a very, very strange experience because in Malaysia, it's like all cultures, like Malay, Indian, Chinese will go Ramadan Bazaar, right? Maybe not at the correct timings, but they'll go to Ramadan Bazaar.
Yeah.
But there we found very often, more often than not, we'll be the only Chinese people there buying
Could
food.
have actually
For,
pegged you that you're actually Malaysian when you visit Ramadan Bazaar in Singapore?
they give me very odd looks. They give you very, very odd looks because I will order in Malay, and then the
Okay.
guy will look at me like really strange, and then when he tells me like how much is it in Malay, like $5, and I'll find it really strange because when you say $5, I was expecting RM, and he tells me $5, and I was like, oh, dollar, apa tu?
Talk about cross culture, right?
Yeah,
Talk
it was
about
so
that. I'm
weird.
like, yeah, it's
And,
just so
and
weird.
I will order in Malay. The uncle will reply to me in English. And then I'll continue to order in Malay, and then he'll reply to me in English again. And I'm like, wow, this
Try
is
doing that when you're in like Kelana Jaya or like some of the Pasar Ramadan around in the Klang Valley and everything. And
yeah,
I mean, like usually like the more upscale one is definitely be the one in Taman Tun. Taman Tun has always been a bit of an upscale
yeah.
kind of place to go Pasar Ramadan. You know, people selling nasi kerabu, speaking English, perfect English,
Perfect.
mind you. I
Yeah.
mean, like it depends on where you are, but yeah, it's something that definitely a lot of Malaysians, if not all Malaysians, actually miss about Ramadan because it's part of us, isn't it? It's part of the culture, and not just for Malays, like you said. It's all Malaysian. This is a Malaysian thing. Even people who was abroad back in Germany, you know, that's one of the things that I miss the most. It's not just, but also
Internet.
having that experience buying this food and not is gonna go to waste lah. So that's the problem that we normally have. But yeah, it's definitely experienced 6 years living in Singapore, man. So yeah,
I'm curious to see how Ramadan plays out actually, like the whole moving to e-bazaar or what's going to happen. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not
okay.
sure.
Very interesting topic
Yeah.
that you have actually brought on that because again, as we started, as I actually promoted this episode, you're very much a tech geek because why? You're very much into the whole the whole schematics on how it works, especially on the online platforms, on different digital platforms and everything moving forward. Um, Now I can tell you for now that e-bazaar Ramadan is actually happening, and people such as Grab has actually initiated it, that they have a landing platform on their app in which that you can order according to your district, like in PJ or in Bangsar or in Shah Alam. So they actually address to these folks. But they have about 30 vendors per location. Same with Fashion Valley. Fashion Valley has actually done another thing as well, where rather than just selling their beauty products and their fashion stuff and everything, they also have another tab where they sell, food, where they can order like 1 or 2 days prior, then get your food delivered between 3 to 5 p.m.
Yeah.
If it were you, do you think that this is something that is what people should be doing, or do you have like another kind of ideas on how can you implement e-bazaar Ramadan?
Oh wow. Um, I'd say this whole COVID-19 thing is actually one of the biggest disruptors when it comes to a lot of these small vendors that used to be offline, and then now they have to hurry and scramble to move online. So I'm actually quite thankful that in Malaysia that we have a lot of I would say marketplaces like Grab, Lazada, Zalora, Fashion Valley. They started opening up to allow for all of these vendors to help to assist vendors to come online as quickly as possible to sell their wares, sell their goods. I know that for Grab's case, they also provide the logistics with their Grab delivery riders and everything. So it's there, and it would definitely help. The feeling may not be the same anymore because you're no longer in a bustling Ramadan bazaar. Maybe somebody else could develop some kind of like virtual reality kind of thing, but the problem is that the cost of entry for virtual reality for the user is already so high, right? It's like you have to buy the goggles, you have to buy all these other equipment. I don't even have these things yet, but the feeling is just not there. But I think what is most important is that you must get your food because you must get the best food. If those vendors can find like if these marketplaces can find like the best vendors, the ones that you love, then it's paling best, right? And most important is, I think, family, right? Because when you book a parcel, you want to book a parcel with your family. You want to be at home. I think that is, and the safety of your family should be the most important thing during this kind of times.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So, okay, coming back to on the tech side and everything,
Yeah.
as you mentioned, a lot of companies right now, they like it or not, they somehow had to jump into this deep end of the pool and try to make them to stay afloat as much as possible to make sure that they're able to address or even survive by digitalizing themselves
Yeah.
during this testing times and everything. So, for these SMEs, for these micro people, micro
Mm.
business owners who had to make that leap of faith,
Mm.
what are the kind of challenges that you see that will happen to these people?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I for one, because I come from a payments industry, and I think
Mm,
cash payments was something that a lot of these micro vendors, SMEs, they're very used to receiving. They only accept cash. They do not accept any kind of card payment or wallet payment or any kind of digital payment whatsoever. And I think this is the thing that needs to force them over because they have to accept some kind of payment. I know the marketplaces would help you with accepting on their behalf,
mm,
but let's say if I'm a mom and pop store and I start listing on Facebook, for example, in a Facebook group, and you want to, of course, receive the money first or receive a deposit first before you deliver a very large order. And because I've seen a lot of things where people get scammed, they prepare a large order, it goes to an address, the address doesn't exist, and then they were expecting to collect cash. And then the cost of that, the risk of that is a bit too high to justify that, to say that, oh, if I accept cash payment or if I accept digital payments like credit cards or wallets, then there's a cost to it. I may not get my money out. Maybe there's a trust issue. I think these are the things that they need to adapt and they need to change. It's not only just like finding avenues to list your items or your foods. So that could be solved by Facebook, can be solved by posting it on either Lazada or Grab, or getting a marketplace to help host these things. As for logistics, was also another issue, but that could be solved using a partner like Grab, for example. But when it comes to payments, that's the thing that, or at least cash, right? Moving from cash to digital payments, I think that's one of the biggest hurdles for somebody like even my mom or my grandmother to think about, like, oh my goodness, I have to have what you mean there's money on my phone.
yeah, that's so true because like again, even my own father has
Mm.
reservations about paying stuff online because again, this is not I'm not blaming him. It's just about the old fashioned mentality is how what you're used to. I mean, like
Yeah.
even people like us, we do have people amongst our peers who are still quite skeptic about having to do
Oh yeah.
transactions online because they still believe in cash. Cash is gold, and cash is
Yeah.
something that nobody can cheat you rather than doing it online and everything.
Yeah.
And I believe you have been keeping yourself up to date as well with the current situations with what MCMC is doing or what the Malaysian government has been doing to help these micro and these SME owners and everything. Do you think it's enough within this time of needs, or there's still a lot of chances, a lot of opportunities
Mm.
for government specifically to actually help these vendors to come out? Or can't we just leave it just to the government?
Mm.
The private sectors need to play a big role as well. What are your opinion?
Yeah, yeah. I think the government has been doing very, very well. I mean, they keep been giving out like what is it, that one time on off cash payment they've been
Yeah,
giving.
that 30 ringgit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not enough. I think everybody needs to contribute, both from private sector, government sector, personal as well. It's like if I'm a consumer, I have to accept that things will get more expensive because it has to factor in the cost of, like, the logistics of sending me my food, the cost of running the marketplace, the cost of the payments, cost of everything, like keeping systems up and running. There's a cost to that. There's manpower involved as well. So I think in general, consumers also need to understand that, yes, things are not going to be status quo. It will not be the same. We are moving into something that is unprecedented. We are living in unprecedented times, and therefore we need to adapt. And I consider myself very lucky. Like, yes, I have the means to adapt. I know there are some people that do not have the means to adapt, like those that lost their jobs, and then now everything is getting more expensive. Mobility is very, very difficult. So those are the ones that I think need help the most. And I feel that I feel both government and public sector should help out, but also consumers as well. Consumers have to understand that there are people in need, and and in Singapore, for example, they get, I think, what is it called, solidarity budget payout of 600 Sing dollars for every Singaporean. And a lot of Singaporeans, they decided that they don't need the money, and they're going to donate it to a good cause. They're going to donate it to health organizations. They're going to donate to frontliner support. Donate it to families that don't need need help in times of these, like food, loss of jobs. And I think that's very, very. I think it's an example that most of us should try and follow to the best of our ability.
I mean, definitely. I mean, like, some of them, some of us who are actually fortunate enough to be able to contribute, we do what we can, however we can, to contribute to help out those who are in need. And we also cannot deny that there are also sectors of the population that really, really need this help. If not, it is impossible for them to stay afloat. Can you imagine? Because a lot of things during this MCO that's been happening in KL specifically, a lot of these low-cost flats, this PPR and everything. Can you imagine having a household of about 7 to 8 people living in a 600 square feet environment? So it is something that a lot of us cannot fathom because we do not have that experience. But that's but we as humans, we really need to understand and be and show empathy when it comes to this time of need, especially as well when we talk about the SME owners, the micro business owners and everything. On the flip side, Lionel, brick and mortar, is this a true wake-up call for them to actually realize that you need to be online, you need to have digital presence in order to able to do business moving forward?
For brick and mortar, to be honest, if they haven't started yet, I feel that the battle for them is lost already. Because if you're a brick and mortar store, you didn't think about digitizing your business and bring it online or selling it online. And now you have to. The only avenue you need to go through is through a marketplace. And a marketplace could be Zalora, Lazada. And for these guys, of course, it's booming business for them, because now I get a new influx of vendors and sellers that want to onboard from my platform, and then I get to charge them a commission, or at least I charge them some kind of minor fee. And once consumers are used to that, trying to bring them off the platform. So we saw this with Amazon in the US. So Amazon is right now, I would say, like the monopoly marketplace in the US right now. And the markups that they start, or at least the way that they monetize it, they charge you a commission fee, a listing fee. They also charge you for ads. So if you want your stuff to go boosted up into the search results, then you need to you need to pay for the ads. So
certain amount,
And sometimes for some certain brands, right, it's quite ridiculous that I have to bid on my own brand name so that when people search for my brand name, I'm shown first. Right. So I think if they don't do this now, or at least if they haven't done it before, plan to do so, and then now you're forced to go into this marketplace, coming off the marketplace in future might actually be more difficult than they imagine, because consumers are now trained to expect to go to these marketplaces to shop. But once you've taken the listing off, you're going to just lose business to another competitor that's listing on that same marketplace.
Yeah, that's true. Because again, it's all about having the foresight, having the ability to actually look forward and try to keep up with how the world actually works right now. You can't deny the fact that everything and anything right now is all about being digitalized. Everything is all, and like you said, you're very much involved with the cashless payment right now, and going cashless is the way to go right now. People don't even want to touch each other because of COVID-19, and cashless definitely is the way to go right now. And there's no possible way for cashless to become to become dead, because the only way is definitely up, right? Going cashless.
I think, I mean, stay 6 feet away from me and scan my QR code. Just don't come near close. Don't come anywhere close to me. I'm not sure whether or not cash will really die, because to be honest, it's not only just cash. It's okay, we're not going to barter trading, but my father-in-law did do that. He bought too many eggs and then he had to barter trade for nasi lemak or something.
Wow, that's a good trade, man.
It's like, we're going to the Stone Ages now, right? Yeah, I think this should be a big push for most people to move to a cashless payment system. And I thought that when Malaysia gave that e-wallet budget where they paid like how much, 30 ringgit
30,
into everybody's
yeah.
if you sign up. Yeah, that was great. That was great. I really felt that like most people to push them the B40 into a hope to add on this cashless payment was good. Although I must say that hey, you're improving the customer acquisition for the wallets using my taxpayers' dollars. Then that's not very right.
But there's always two ways of looking at it. One of it is definitely, as you said, but the other one maybe is just an incentive to just, keep people's behind, to make sure that they participate, make sure that they're able to actually grasp this method of payment moving forward, rather than just keeping it to the
Yeah.
the old timers kind of style and everything. So I think that's what the government was actually doing. So again, there's
Yeah.
always pros and cons. There's always two sides of it. The skeptics will always be skeptics. The go the what the yaysayers will definitely have all the great
Yeah.
things to say about it. But I'm so glad right now, to be honest, for the longest time, at least for the past couple of years, that you don't really hear much about the political scenes in Malaysia right now. I mean, like, yes, COVID-19 is bad, but you don't hear much about politics anymore. So that's actually a good change in weather. Don't you think
Yeah.
so?
Yeah, I mean, I think Malaysia went through a very unfortunate situation because right as the virus was spreading globally, then Malaysia went into a whole political. We went through an absolute change of government, and
Yeah,
that
we
was
did.
actually, I mean, I think kudos to the new government. Actually, I would say they handled it quite well. It could have gone really really bad, but honestly, like, yes, there were some missteps. Yes, there were some misspoken words. But at the same time, I think, like, to be honest, they're flattening the curve, really flattening the curve right
Yeah.
now. And it looks prospects looks good that the MCO will be lifted and hopefully not extended some more by May the 12th. Yeah, I think. But I must say, it's like I do miss Malaysian politics because Malaysian politics is the source of my comedy.
No, because it's something that we're so used to right now. The fact that it's taken
Yeah.
away from us and something else
I
is
was like,
replaced it. It's like, okay, what's next? So
yeah, I'm so bored.
nothing much.
What else
We
am
do
I?
have a
Now we
couple of
turn.
comments actually coming out. We got Brian Cresswell saying that go Lionel. Awesome.
Oh, thanks, Brian.
And we have an old friend of ours back during our Zalora days, Sean,
Oh man.
giving you well titled Tan Sri Lionel Tan moving forward. I do hope that I'm still friends with Tan Sri Lionel moving forward. Dude, it's been a pleasure. 30 minutes has passed by just like that. We are now at 33 minutes. Awesome stuff.
Oh
Um,
wow, this has been a
yeah.
great chat.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, it's an eye opener. It did go down the serious path a bit, but nevertheless, it's quite informative of what you have just mentioned. Very interesting indeed. So before we end this, Lionel, what do you want to share with our audiences? Maybe some wishes to people back in Malaysia, or your next door neighbor in Singapore. They can definitely hear us while we're talking about this. Things you want to say.
Yeah. Of course, stay home, stay safe. Think about how fortunate we all are to be working from home, to be able to have this kind of conversation. Like, a lot of people think like staying at home is like the worst thing ever, but you don't realize that a lot of stuff that we are so fortunate to have. We are fortunate to have internet, good internet. Some of us has Netflix
Imagine living
subscriptions.
with 3310. Imagine that time.
Oh,
Nokia 3310.
man, no! Imagine living with a 56K modem or the 336K modem. You got
Every
the
house
dialing.
would erupt, man. And calling your friends and everything, bro. Call me back. No credit.
Yeah.
Call me back.
Call me back, and it's like the missed call. Remember, it's like the stupid missed call. You missed call the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
We are very fortunate. Some people, it's like you have internet, you have electricity, you have aircon. You can stay at home. It used to be like the dream of mine to work remotely. Not so much anymore. Now it's like when the reality hits, then you'll be like, oh my goodness, everybody's at home now.
Exactly.
The only thing I had to give up is, I guess, personal space. Like no more personal space anymore whatsoever. But I wish everybody to stay at home, stay safe. I think family is very important. Cherish these times, because these are the. I mean, you will look back at these times. It's like, hey, remember, there was one time in 2020 where you spent like 2 months at home, just sitting around,
Exactly.
doing nothing.
Exactly.
What do you do
I
with
mean,
it?
like,
Yeah.
you will definitely cherish these moments when it pass. Again, thank you so much, Lionel, for being on Sempoi on today's edition. Really appreciate it, man. I do hope that you and your family are safe down there in Singapore. Do as great as you are, more IG feeds on your food ventures, on your recipe concoctions. You're very much a very
Yeah.
good
Sure.
videographer. Really good stuff, really good content that you're bringing out. That's all, folks, from us right here. Thank you so much for watching us. We'll be back, inshallah, tomorrow. So, as always, for you guys, duduk di rumah, stay at home, kita jaga kita, dan jom Malaysia dan Singapore, jom kita sama-sama putuskan rantaian COVID-19 ini bersama. Alright, Lionel, say bye-bye.
Okay. Take care. Bye bye.
Take care, guys. Ciao.